Howdy there, I'm Matt McKinley and we're burning daylight. Howdy there, burners. How we doing this morning? I hope you've enjoyed the shows this week. They've been a lot of fun. And I'm going to go on a solo show today just because, well, you'll find out here in a little bit, just a subject that just keeps popping its ugly head up. So that's what we're going to do. A little update on the whole Ballad of Jamie Joe situation. If you haven't heard yet, my wife is in on the deal, and she is going to play the part of Miss Jamie Joe. So, we are going to go ahead and record that this weekend at some point. And we will get that out to you as soon as it is all polished up and ready to go. It's going to be a fun one. But you guys are really, really in for a treat. Because you don't realize the sheer lunacy of this whole situation until you can read everything. Or in this case, hear everything. So, anyhow, stay tuned for that. It's going to be fun. So, it seems like this gun control debate is not going away anytime soon. Or at least, I truly wonder how much they're going to push it during the general election. You would think that it hasn't been a winning issue with them before. They'd kind of drop it. But you'd think they'd kind of moderate a little bit too after the last couple of years, but they haven't learned anything from that either. So they'll push this gun control issue all the way through the election, I think. And so I shared a meme from Maj Toure, who is he's running for city council in Philadelphia, and he's the founder of a group called Black Guns Matter. And he's a pretty big libertarian guy. Like he is anti-identity politics. He's anti-left wing. He's anti-right wing. You know, he's just and he's one of the people in the black community that's like, well, let's step up as black people and, you know, take control of the situation. So his organization, Black Guns Matter, they run a education deal in a whole bunch of different cities, and so I think there's I don't know if it's concealed carry courses or what for sure, but I know they educate a lot on gun laws and gun lobbying and just you know, education on why the Second Amendment exists, why the Second Amendment is a natural right, God-given right to defend yourself. And anyway, does some really cool stuff, and his Twitter game is pretty damn good. So he had a meme. It was Elizabeth Warren, and I think I don't know if it's a direct quote from her or not, but it's like, if you need 30 rounds, a 30-round magazine to go hunting, you suck at hunting. And then it, you know, the picture below was of Maj, and it said, if you need a disarmed public to govern, you suck at governing. and one of my followers had posted that, you know, the Second Amendment was never about hunting, which is true, of course, but as you will know, that old Lizzie Paleface comes from a rich, possibly Cherokee background, you know, a whopping 1,024th percent, or that's how much of a fraction of Native American blood she has. Indian blood is 1,024th, you know, so just a very large percentage, you know, just oozing Indian culture from every pore, you know. I mean, she even wrote a cookbook about the you know, delicacies of Indian cuisine. And she's a very very well respected, intellectual on the subject. And, her people, they didn't need 30 rounds to go hunting. All they needed was a loincloth and a spear or a bow and arrow and a good pinto pony. That's all they needed. So if they could hunt buffalo off the back of old Pinto throwing a spear, then why the hell do you need a 30-round magazine? Just a little food for thought. So, going back to old Lizzie Paleface, I was mostly kidding when I said that I was really hoping that Elizabeth Warren would win, so I could see what type of damage Trump was gonna do on the debate stage. And so, yes, I would love to see that. I didn't really think it would happen. I'm still pretty skeptical, but the media seems to be playing up the fact that Elizabeth Warren is picking up steam here lately. I've noticed a lot of articles about how Elizabeth Warren is really surging right now, which is truly awesome. I mean, if she gets on the debate stage, oh my God, that's going to be glorious. So, I guess never say never. If you work hard and you dream big enough, your dreams can come true. So maybe you should all consider switching your affiliation to Democrat if you're not, and go vote for Elizabeth Warren in the primary, and let's do what we can to get old Pocahontas on the debate stage. And at the same time, you also be kind of proving a point how this two-party political system is bullshit. And but anyway, I think we can get this accomplished. We've only, if all 150 of you that listen on a daily basis, if we pull our resources, we go out and vote as a block, the Burning Daylight block, we will sway exactly no elections, but god damn it, we'll have some fun. So, yeah. Lizzie Paleface, 2020. So, back on the whole gun control debate, it's starting to get really, really kind of spooky. And I do mean that. They're gearing up for the September round of Democratic presidential debates, and I thought they had gone as far left-wing as they were going to go, but they haven't even scratched the surface yet, I'm guessing. It used to be the argument was, for gun control, it was, we don't want to take your guns. We want to keep the guns out of the hands of the people who shouldn't have them, and we respect the Second Amendment, but we just support common sense gun safety legislation. And that's basically a direct quote from any number of Democrat politicians, even Republican politicians, some of your representatives from like New York or California or any of these really, really far left-wing states. Even they still have a few Republicans in Congress, and so even some of those Republicans would have these talking points about common sense gun control or gun safety legislation is what they call it. But it's gun control. And more than anything, it's control. And so Trump has floated the idea of red flag laws. Of course, the Democrats are all in favor of red flag laws. And now Mr. Bob O'Rourke, how he's still in that thing, I don't know, but he's got about as much stage presence and charisma as a can of tuna. But anyhow, he's still in there somehow, and he's calling for a mandatory gun buyback of these quote unquote assault weapons. Basically the AR-15 or the SKS AK-47 style rifles. All it is it's a semi-automatic rifle with a detachable magazine, and they sell high capacity. So 10 rounds or more, I think, is what's considered high capacity. But I've mentioned this before with any legislation. I mentioned it with my dad. With any legislation, there has to be enforcement behind it. Otherwise, and really, I don't think anybody seriously proposing this mandatory gun buyback is really thinking about what that means to implement this. It's sheer pandering to just whatever left-wing cause is the hot topic for the day. And, it's just, that's all it is. It's pandering. I don't think any of them is really, there might be a few, they have their pet policy projects that they've really done some research into, but I think most of the people, especially O'Rourke, like I said, I don't know how he's still in the race, how he's still made it onto the debate stage, but he did. Good for him, I guess, whatever. But, he's got to make a splash in order to get any traction. He just has to. There's no way he's going to be able to win the primary the way it is right now. With what he is right now, there's no way he's going to win it, and he's going to get fucking massacred by Donald Trump. I mean, he looks enough like a little bitch already. I can't even imagine what Donald Trump's going to make him look like. And, I mean, if you're going to have to get into a dick measuring contest with Donald Trump. And that may be a literal statement. I don't know. You never know with Trump what he's going to do. But you're not going to win that, even if you have the so-called, or, the metaphorical bigger dick. You're not going to win that fight with Trump. He's, I don't think Trump's particularly stupid. I don't think he's all that, genius of an individual. He has some incredible instincts, and but it's the case of don't argue with idiots because they'll drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. And I'm not saying Trump's an idiot. I think he is an idiot on some things, but overall, no. I think he knows how to win. And in this case, they're politicians, so they're afraid to, they're worried about looking, qualified and look like a good leader, and everybody's polished and they got their talking points and they got their cadence and their hair's a certain way, and Donald Trump's gonna say, "Well, you look like a moron. Your dad killed Kennedy or something." It just, who knows with Trump? And it'll be nothing about policy. He'll just strictly berate you. And if there's any sort of weakness you got, he's going to find it, and he's going to exploit it. And, yeah, so I'm also torn about whether to vote for Elizabeth Warren or Bobby O'Rourke as to who I'd rather see get destroyed. And I think, honestly, probably more O'Rourke, just for, as I don't dislike Elizabeth Warren. I think she's hilarious, honestly. Unintentionally hilarious, but O'Rourke is just a slimy fucking weasel of a person, and yeah, I would love to see him just get bitch slapped around by old Donald. And but he is supporting a mandatory gun buyback, and so they're going right back to the Australia deal, where Australia had this mass shooting, and then they basically banned gun ownership, and they implemented this buyback program, which, yeah, I guess technically if you turned in your weapons, you got paid for it, but you didn't have a choice in the matter. You either hand them over and get paid whatever they're going to pay you for it, or they're going to come find you, they're going to take it, and then I think there was something like a 7-year prison sentence attached to that deal. So, yeah, you're going to pay, or you're going to go to jail, basically, is the gist of that whole deal. And this is in Australia, where we all know the Aussies like to fight, but they've never had a real strong culture of gun ownership over there like we have here. They didn't fight for their independence. They didn't overthrow the chains of the British Empire, until much later, and there wasn't a bloody war involved like it was here in the U.S. Same with Canada. They never really had a huge culture of gun ownership, and it's always kind of made me wonder why Canada stayed part of the British Empire after we won our independence. But I don't know, that's a discussion for another day. But anyhow, so Australia didn't have a huge culture of gun ownership like the U.S., where, I mean, guns are here, and you're, unless you're just really live in some left-wing city, like New York or San Francisco or something like that, you're not going to be surprised when somebody says, "Yeah, I'm a gun owner" in the U.S. That's pretty common. Estimated 400 million firearms in the U.S. So it's accepted that there's guns here, or it's just known. It's not, like I said, unless you're just really out of touch with reality. If somebody says I'm a gun owner, you're not going to be shocked by the fact that they're a gun owner, unless they, I don't know. There's nobody that would shock me if they said they're a gun owner. It makes sense to me. But anyway, so the Aussies, from what I understand, they were more than happy to give up their guns in return for security, or whatever. And and they all say this was a smashing success. This gun buyback deal. Good fucking luck implementing that in the U.S. I mentioned it before, that all those come and take it flags and Gadsden flags, which would be the, don't tread on me, it is not an idle threat in the U.S. You go down to Texas, you see them all over. You go out throughout the western United States, you see those flags all over. Throughout the South, I'm sure. I've not spent a whole lot of time in the South, but I'm sure. I know that they're everywhere, because I've got a lot of followers from the South. I've seen your pictures, and I've seen what makes people tick with the memes that I share. It's gun rights are a very deeply held belief for a good chunk of the U.S. So all I would say is that is not a winning issue for the Democrats, but that's not going to stop them. I've quit trying to guess on how far left they're going to go this election cycle, because every time I think they've hit to the tip of the left middle finger, well, that left arm grows just a little bit longer, it seems like, and so I don't think there is any end to how far left these people are going to go, and during this primary season, just to try to get to out left wing the next one and get that nod. Well, then of course they got to go run in the general after they win. I honestly have no idea who's going to win the presidential nod for the Democrats. I really have no clue. First gut instinct would say Biden, just because he's got the most experience, but he's struggling. He's not very well liked within his party. He's running on the platform of being the next coming of Obama, except white and old. But hell, even Obama hasn't endorsed him yet. And I honestly don't know where those chips are going to fall. But they're going to have to run. Whoever wins it's going to have to win a general election if they want to take the White House. So these far left-wing talking points aren't going to work in the general election like they would in a Democratic primary. So they're going to have to come back to the middle a little bit. And once you've gone that far left, you got to backtrack quite a ways to get to the middle. And how they're going to do that? Well, they're not going to be able to do that without looking like hypocrites or flip-floppers. But I'm really anxious to see him try. And then you got Trump that's going to call him out on every little bit of their bullshit, and some stuff that's probably not even bullshit, but he's going to twist it into bullshit because that's what he does. And yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I don't see how this gun control deal is a winning issue for him, but I will not be surprised when, the majority of the major candidates eventually endorse a mandatory gun buyback program. And I will also bet money that there's not a single one of them that is going to ever mention the enforcement aspect of it, because that's not a subject that they want to bring to light. Well, if you institute this gun buyback, you got to have some sort of grace period for people to voluntarily turn over their weapons and receive compensation for it. Well, once that grace period is over, well, then what? Do they have a list of all the AR-15s in the country? I doubt it. And are there going to be very many people that voluntarily turn over those rifles? Well, I bet you there's a pretty decent chunk of them that do, just out of sheer just fear of going to prison. But I would venture to say that there's going to be a significant portion of people that own a weapon like that are just going to ignore that little buyback deal and not say anything to anybody and just go on about their lives with that AR-15. I would bet you're going to see a lot less videos of people shooting an AR on YouTube after that happens, but other than that, I don't see there being a drastic change in gun ownership when they implement this thing until they start enforcing it. Now, what's that enforcement going to look like? Well, it's going to be dudes with guns knocking on your door saying, "Give me your gun," and I think it's going to drive paranoia because there's going to be neighbors who rat out their neighbors because they don't want to get in trouble. And it's just, from there, it's not so much a slow, gradual slide into authoritarianism anymore, I don't think. And I know for a lot of folks, I sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist, but this is not some harebrained scheme. This is what is being advocated for. And knowing folks, gun-loving people like I do, I know a lot of them. The majority of the people I know are very strong gun advocates, and not only that, but they are gun people, gun nerds. I'm not a gun nerd. I like guns. I like talking them a little bit, but I'm not a gun nerd. But a lot of people I know are, and I would venture to bet that a lot of people you know are the same way. And I don't see those folks turning over their guns voluntarily. So, how do they get the information on you? I don't know. I don't know how the NSA spying apparatus works, but I know they're very good at it. I know that Google and Facebook are very good at spying on you, and we allow them to do that, unwittingly or willingly, whatever. They do it. We know that companies like Facebook and Google are very left-wing. They're very pro gun control. Do you think they'd be willing to work with the federal government? I'd bet money on it. They work with the Chinese government, who regulates the internet far more than what the U.S. does. So, yeah, I think it's no question that a company like Google or Facebook would be willing to share the information they have on U.S. citizens with the government in order to get this type of deal enacted. Well, so say they get some sales receipts of it doesn't even have to be the rifle itself that you bought online, but let's say you bought a receiver or a new trigger, a trigger guard, or a front grip, or whatever, any sort of accessory that you buy for these rifles. A lot of them are going to come from online. The ones that aren't, you're probably looking at a gun shop. Well, they know where the gun shops are, because to be a legal gun shop, you got to have a federal firearms license. So it's not very hard for them to go just seize all the records from a gun shop. Well, okay, so-and-so bought this, so-and-so bought that. They bought a bunch of 223 ammo. I bet you they got an AR-15. Boom, they show up on your door. Boom, 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 boom. Got a warrant. Give me your guns. And eventually, and I would venture to say it's going to happen pretty quick like, somebody's going to start shooting back. Or they're going to resist. Somebody's going to get killed, whether it be the gun owner or the cop or whoever. People are going to die over that. I think it'll spark a civil war, and I don't think I'm being hyperbolic on that. A lot of people will think that'll never happen. Well, don't hold your breath. Like I said, those Gadsden flags and the come and take it flags, all the bumper stickers you see, that's not an idle threat. So, if you truly want gun control, you best be ready for some violence and bloodshed, because that's what's going to happen. And you, I would say, better be prepared to take up arms against your fellow countrymen, because that's what's going to happen. That's what it's going to turn to, and it may not be like a civil war in the sense of the civil war that has already happened, North against South. I think it's going to be a lot more like Afghanistan or Iraq or Vietnam. It's going to be a bunch of guerrilla warfare. And it's going to be a lot of kicking down doors, trying to find weapons, trying to find leaders of this, the rebellion or whatever. But I know it sounds crazy, but it's not far off from that. When you have, some, I wouldn't say front runners, but they're in the top 10 of the Democratic presidential field right now, calling for a mandatory gun buyback. We're not that far off, so you better stock up. You better be active politically. You better be vocal, because it is a very scary path that we're on right now. And all you diehard Trumpers, you better start hitting back on the Donald when he's calling for red flag laws, because I know a lot of people think he can do no wrong. Those red flag laws are a very scary deal, because it doesn't take a genius to figure out that anybody can report you as unstable if they don't like you, and that meaning all these protesters, these anti-gun protesters, I guarantee you, they're going to be organized, and they're going to be reporting people in bulk if these laws go in effect. And it's like I said, it sounds crazy, I know, but we're not that far from it. So you better be vocal, and you better be prepared. And I had a visit with Chet Semper, one of my listeners, and very, very, very sharp individual, very well thought out, seems to be very well read individual, who was under the bridge at the Bunkerville standoff with the Bundys. If you don't believe in the Second Amendment, well, the fact that we have a Second Amendment and we had armed citizens under that bridge, there's a lot of people that didn't die because of that, I think. I really think that could have been just a massacre if it hadn't been for those so-called domestic terrorists under that bridge. And but anyway, that's as I said, you probably better stock up, better have some ammo, and you better know what the laws are and know what your rights are, so you can fight back against this. But if you stay silent, the Democrats are going to take that as you being in agreement with them, and they will run roughshod right all over the top of your rights. Not that the Republicans won't either. I'll get into that in another episode of how Democrats and Republicans are the exact same thing. But that they're going to have no problem running roughshod over your rights if you're not willing to defend them. So you better stay informed, and you probably better stock up on some ammo. I hate to be a fearmonger, but I've laid out the case. It is not that crazy when you really break it down. So, I think the best thing you can do is stay informed, stay prepared, and to call out these nonsense ideas for what they are. They are nonsense. And I guarantee you, Bob O'Rourke doesn't have the cojones to actually enforce this mandatory buyback. I guarantee you, he's not going to be the one kicking down your doors, but he has no problem sending somebody else to do it, I don't think. And, if you don't think the U.S. government is capable of that, well, I would say go ask the people who witnessed the Ruby Ridge massacre, the Waco massacre. I know the people of Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen, Vietnam. The government is very capable of doing these things, so you got to be vigilant. And I don't see it as being a huge issue this term. I really think, barring a big recession or something pretty catastrophic, I don't see Trump losing in 2020. I don't think it'll be that big of an issue. But of all the stuff that Trump has pushed back on and pushed back strongly, Second Amendment's not one of them. He gave him a bump stock ban. He's floated the idea of red flag law. So I really don't think Donald Trump's a huge champion for the Second Amendment. I know he was endorsed by the NRA, but I don't think the NRA is that huge of a champion for the Second Amendment. A lot of my left-wing friends will kind of shake their head and be kind of befuddled by that statement. But I really think the NRA is the sellouts. They've compromised many a times on gun rights, and I don't see the NRA as the big bad boogeyman that the left wing does. Certainly, I don't think they're the evil force that the Democrats seem to think they are. But I also don't think they're the big gun rights champion that a lot of members think they are. I think they've thrown you under the bus more than once, and I don't particularly trust them. So I think there's other gun rights organizations that are far better than the NRA. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the NRA back something like a red flag law. I don't think they're perfect by any means, and like I said, I just don't particularly trust them, and I really don't trust Trump on guns, and I'm saying that with full confidence. He hasn't shown me anything where I should really be confident on on as far as a gun rights perspective. He's been pretty wishy-washy and pretty squishy, so I don't trust him on it, and I don't think you should either. So stay informed and stay prepared, because the way things are heading, I don't like it. I really don't like it. And call me crazy, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I don't like the way things are heading. So, yep, keep yourself in the loop. This episode of Burning Daylight is brought to you by Chase Gibson and Rockin' G Cutlery. I found out about Chase through my buddy Thaddeus down in Alabama. He
he liked one of my posts and followed me on Instagram. I guess Thaddeus had told him about the show, and I got to looking through his page, and this guy makes some really awesome knives. And so we got to talking back and forth, and now he's a sponsor of the show, and I'm really happy about that. So a little bit about him. He does this kind of on the side, but I think sounds like he really enjoys doing it. But it's all handmade, hand forged, made with U.S. steel, all American made, handmade, hand forged products, and it's all done old school way. The only power tool he uses is a belt grinder. Everything else is just a hammer and a forge. And he makes Damascus blades. He makes regular steel blades. Uses different materials on the handles, and they're all custom orders, so he can make it exactly how you like it. He's got a bull cutter that he's making for me on the way, so I can't wait to see it. And yeah, go check him out. He's rockin.g.cutlery on Instagram and Rockin' Cutlery on Facebook. Go give him a look, and if you need a new blade, give him a shout. I'm sure he'd be happy to make one for you. So thanks, Chase, for sponsoring the show, and go check him out, Rockin' Cutlery.
So, a little point of clarification. I just thought of this because I know somebody is going to mention this at some point, and they'll say that the bump stocks were really ineffective, and nobody really uses bump stocks anyway, so it's not a big deal. It's throwing a bone to the gun control crowd and really not making any difference. Well, that's how the slippery slope starts, and so I don't care if I'd never even heard of a bump stock until the Las Vegas shooting. I didn't know what they were, and I see the argument where they're ineffective, they're hard to shoot, blah blah blah. Nobody had them. Well, it doesn't matter. Because of that shooting, they became front page. Became front page news. Everybody knew what a bump stock was, or at least everybody heard about bump stocks for months on end afterwards. So, doesn't matter that they were really just kind of a piece of shit accessory. It doesn't matter. They're gone now. So, I bet you there's a lot of people that wouldn't know what a Mini 14 is. But I guarantee you that if somebody went and shot up a school with a Mini 14, they would that image of a Mini 14 would be plastered all over every news article for months on end, and all of a sudden, people will be calling for a Mini 14 to be banned. Never heard of it before in their lives, but now, that's how the slippery slope starts. So, if somebody says we should ban hand grenades, I would say no, we shouldn't. I think everybody should have a hand grenade if they can afford it and if they want it. But you know why? Because the government has hand grenades, and if the government has a hand grenade, I believe that every citizen should be able to have a hand grenade to fight against the government. That was the sole reason the Second Amendment was put into place, was to protect against a tyrannical government. Personal self-defense being a secondary reason. Hunting never was in the conversation. So the hunting argument is bullshit. The personal self-defense argument, irrelevant. The reason we need an AR-15, we should have the right to an AR-15, is because we should have the right to equal armaments that the government has. I mean, we should have nukes. Well, I guess if you've got the means to build and the technology to build a nuke, I guess, as long as you're not waging war on somebody with it, I guess. But I think that's a kind of a straw man argument. And do I think the normal citizens should have tanks? Maybe. I don't know. Just depends on how authoritarian this government gets. So I'm a pretty much an absolutist when it comes to gun rights, and every time you give an inch, you're just a little further down that slippery slope. So when I say that Donald Trump has been pretty terrible on gun rights, it's because he has been, and I've got evidence to support me. So if I catch some flack for that, so be it. But come at me, bro. I've got facts to prove it. So just a little clarification, I guess. Well, folks, I'm gonna end the show on a little lighter note. Let's stay in the political sphere, but Donald Trump has got himself a primary challenger. Yep, true story. Joe Walsh. He is, I guess you would call him a conservative talk radio guy. He was a one-term congressman from Illinois. And he was elected in the big Tea Party movement, and then promptly voted out of office in Illinois. I don't know what part of Illinois he was from, but he got elected and then got beat out the next term. So it's pretty short-lived status, but he's had a radio show. I don't know how popular he is. I've never listened to him. But he's challenging Trump, and anybody who knows anything about politics knows that he's got zero chance, probably less than zero chance of primarying Donald Trump. I don't know when the last time a sitting president has been primaried and lost the primary. But anyhow, he decided to throw his hat in the ring because he said the country is tired of Trump, and they're tired of his temper tantrums, and he's unfit, and pretty much the basic left-wing talking points, except stopped short of calling him a Nazi. I think that's about the only difference. But he, I haven't heard any of his platforms that he's running on, and so I have a hard time taking him seriously, because if he was running against Trump based on principle, I think he would have led with that he's a small government conservative, and Trump is not, and that's why he's running for president. I'd have a little bit of respect for him, but no, he's basically just using left-wing talking points, and I get that he announced his campaign on ABC, which is, George Stephanopoulos, former Clinton advisor, might have been like chief of staff or something, I don't know, but he was pretty high up in the Clinton administration, was who was interviewing him, so I guess I can understand you catering to your, to a certain audience, but I think if you're principled in your stance, that's not something you're going to do. Ron Paul never tried to cater to a certain audience. He spoke what he truly believed. And so, if it was Ron Paul running primary against, I would take that seriously. I'm not taking Joe Walsh seriously. He has got to know that he stands no chance. And I think it's just simply an attention grab. And maybe he truly thinks that Trump is unpopular enough that he could defeat him in the primary. But he's getting some pretty favorable press coverage now. But I've followed politics pretty closely for the last probably 10 years, and Joe Walsh is not a liked member of the media. He's a pretty outspoken conservative, has made some pretty controversial tweets that have got him called a white nationalist and a racist. So much like the media was with Trump during the primary in 2016, they kind of cozied up to him because they thought he was going to be easy to beat. And so they kind of helped him win they didn't start bashing him until he got the nomination. There was a few things kind of mocking him and stuff when the primary election was going on, but they didn't really bring up any of the big guns until he got the nod for the presidential candidate. So much like Trump, then they were fairly friendly to him until he got the nomination, and then they opened the floodgates and they threw everything they had at him. And then even after he won, they spent 2 years claiming that he was basically a Russian spy. And after that, argument fell apart, they pushed the Russian or the obstruction of justice deal. And so I don't know what illusion he has of getting fair media coverage, this Joe Walsh guy, but they don't like him. I say that with 100% confidence. And the only reason they're giving him any time of day right now is because they hate Trump more, and they think that he might be a pretty key player to getting Trump out of office and getting one of these other wackadoos in from the Democratic side. And so I don't know what this Joe Walsh's end game is, other than to make Rocky Mountain Way a more popular song, make it have a little resurgence. I think I'll use that for today's episode. But yeah, that's going to be a good debate if it goes that far. I don't know. I guess if you're not really campaigning, you can stay in the race for a long time. They don't really have to have any debates, I don't think, and it probably wouldn't make any sense. I doubt they're gonna waste much money on the RNC who puts on these primary debates. I can't imagine they're gonna spend a whole lot of money setting up a debate for Trump versus Joe Walsh, but I could be wrong. So he could stay in the race up until the last primary is, I guess until Trump wins enough electoral or delegates to win the nomination, which will be pretty damn quick. Maybe Joe Walsh will win Illinois, but I bet you he wouldn't even win in Illinois. But I wouldn't be surprised to see the media kind of really throwing some support behind him just because they hate Trump so much. But yeah, like I said, it's hard to take him serious. He's got to know he doesn't stand any chance, I would think. But I don't know. Anybody running for president is pretty self-absorbed and pretty self-confident. So I wouldn't be surprised if he actually thought he had a shot, but he don't. I mean, the reality of it, he really's got no shot. So I don't take him seriously, but I wouldn't be surprised if the media kind of halfway takes him seriously just to push the anti-Trump narrative. And yeah, I can imagine that the attacks from Trump are going to be hilarious. So at least there'll be some good comedy. There's not much happening on the Republican side until this Democratic primary's decided. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see him kind of promote Joe Walsh a little bit. But as soon as he's out of the race, they'll forget about him and they'll go back to bashing him as a racist and a white supremacist and whatever else. And if he somehow by a miracle does get the nomination, guess what, Joey boy? Those guns are going to be pointed at you now. So and there's plenty of fodder for him. And unlike Donald Trump, you're more than willing to capitulate to get some attention. So yeah, I don't see it working out so well for you, fella. But best of luck to you. It'll be entertaining either way. If there is a debate, I'll tune in to watch it. I mean, I'm kind of a political junkie anyway, so I'd probably be watching it regardless. But I'd be more interested in that one than any of the Democratic primary debates. So, yeah, maybe he'll stay in for a while, make things interesting. Not truly make things interesting. It'll make things entertaining, I guess. So, yeah, he's got no real chance. And I'm guessing he's looking at polls, the polling numbers of Donald Trump, how he's got, an unfavorability rating, or his favorability or likability is really low. But these are the same pollsters that gave Hillary Clinton a 99% chance of winning the election. So, how much stock you take in them, I wouldn't take much, but I'm guessing that's what he's looking at, and maybe he thinks he's got a legit chance, but yeah, it'll be, he's in for a rude awakening either way. So, congrats, Joe Walsh, you got your 15 minutes of fame. Enjoy it while it lasts. Well, alright, I think that's going to end it for me today. Seems like a good spot to wrap it up. So, thanks again, everybody, for tuning in and subscribing and, giving me feedback and suggestions and requests and all that. I really do appreciate it. It's been fun visiting with some of you guys, and it's been fun visiting with y'all, but the people that I've been able to talk to and do episodes with, it's been really, really cool. That's probably been the best thing about this whole podcast, is just meeting so many cool people. Thanks to Rockin' G Cutlery for sponsoring the show. Go check out his page. Chase Gibson is his name. Rockin' G Cutlery is the name of his company. I didn't mention that in my ad the other day. So I apologize for that. I just kind of spaced it. So, anyway, Chase Gibson, go check him out, rockin.g.cutlery on Instagram. And look at some of his work. It's really pretty cool. And thanks for being a sponsor, man. I appreciate it. And hopefully you can get a few more orders from this show. That'd be awesome. So if you guys are looking for a new blade, go give him a jingle. He does some pretty incredible work. And it's all handmade, hand forged, all 100% made in the U.S. So go help out, support these small businesses like that. They're kind of the backbone of the U.S. economy. So yeah, support them. You might have to pay a little bit more than you would at Walmart for some cheap Chinese stuff, and I went over that already. I don't think there's anything wrong with buying cheap Chinese shit, but I don't mind paying a little more to help a small-time guy out like myself. So that's part of the reason why I've done this the sponsors the way I have, because everybody that has sponsored me so far has been a pretty small-time operation, and I've got a little bit of influence, I guess. What little influence I have, I'm going to use it to highlight some people that I think do cool stuff. So, if you want to be mentioned on the show, if you want to have your products featured or service, whatever it is you do, give me a shout. We'll work something out. And but anyway, thanks to Chase and Rockin' G. You guys have been cool, so appreciate it. And on that note, go find me on all the social medias. Matt McKinley on Facebook, at MickerMac85 on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. The show page is Burning Daylight on Facebook and YouTube. At Move Your Ass on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. That's MOVEYERASS. Go give me a follow. You can listen to the show anywhere on where you can listen to the podcast, any major platform. I'm on there, Spotify, iTunes, Apple, Google Podcasts, all that good shit. So go find me, and if you don't know how apps work or whatever, but you want to listen, just go over to my website, burning-daylight.com, click on the listen tab, or the listen link, and it's got my last 50 episodes there on a player, and you can play it right there on my website. Also, you can check out my store while you're there. The blog posts, I got some photos up. I will get some more of those up. I've been busy, so forgive me. But that's all there. You can, Las Banditas will have her apparel up there shortly. She's working on that. We're going to have a few more items in our merchandise line here before too long, but we got a couple hats up there right now. You can go check them out. Got just the Burning Daylight logo hat and the Howdy There hat. So if you're interested, go take a look. And if you got any song requests, there's a playlist on Spotify. There'll be a link in the show description and it's a public playlist, so anybody can look at it and anybody can add to it. So you got a song request that I haven't played yet, go ahead and add it to the playlist there. And I listen to it pretty regularly, so, and if I don't listen, I at least look through it. And I usually, when it comes up on a song or an artist I haven't ever heard of, I'll click on that first. So, but anyway, that's a pretty kick-ass playlist that we got going on there. And eventually I'll get to all the songs, maybe. But anyway, in the meantime, it's just a good music playlist, so go check it out. And then, of course, there's the featured music playlist, which has all the songs that I've featured so far on it, and it's also a very good playlist, so go check that out. And if you got any questions, requests for guests or topics, whatever, go ahead and send me a message anywhere on social media, or you can email me, matt@burning-daylight.com. If you got questions for my dad about the water stuff, you can email him, wesmckinley@gmail.com, and he'd be more than happy to take your questions and help you out. He's still pretty active for an old man, and he's a very, very sharp, insightful guy. So. And he kind of likes taking the fight to the big dogs for whatever reason, whether he's a glutton for punishment or just kind of crazy. I don't know, probably a little bit of both, but he kind of enjoys that thing. So if you got questions for him, go ahead and give him a shout. He'll get back to you. But anyway, I gotta go doctor some cattle and get stuff wrapped up for the day. So I'm gonna get on out of here. So move your ass. We're burning daylight.